There's another question, and this is a hard one. The story, her husband and her, they used to go to a lot of clubs. They got married. They quit going to the clubs. It changed my life and turned to God. She's not interested in partying anymore, but her husband now kind of is wanting to go back to the club scene. And from the comment here, I don't know if her husband's ever trusted Christ or not, but and it says this comes up a lot, and I don't know what to do. I know I should do the things my husband likes to do, but that is something I don't feel is for us. What do I do? And I think, Peter talks about being submissive to your husband, but it's in the context of, we first have to submit to God, and I think that's the first. That's where that's where the authority begins and it ends. And I think there are a lot of different clubs. There are a lot of different so it's hard. These are hard questions because they're so broad. But we either live life close to the line, or we live life in such a way where we say, "Man, I want to succeed." And I think it's about living life either not to fail or living life to succeed. And if you're uncomfortable with going, I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is it's a great place to talk. It's not a great place to condemn your husband or point a finger at your husband or for him to get mad and all of a sudden this become the defining issue of your marriage. But I think it is an opportunity to just say, well, let's spend some time talking about this. If he is a believer, let's spend some time praying about this and really get some of the concerns to the table. I'm afraid to go because I'm afraid of where we'll end up. I don't want to go back to where we were. I don't want to go back to feeling what I felt. I don't want to go back to being tempted like I was tempted. And I think that's where there's that honest. It's not about who's the boss. Instead in our relationship, we're going to talk about it and we're going to submit. The Bible says in Ephesians, it talks about submitting to each other, and we're going to do that. I don't know that we've ever had an argument about who is in charge.
Right. Yeah, and I think it seems like all of the marriage stuff we've talked about tonight, it all goes back to to communication.
Yeah, right.
Just communicating, and it's not not where we sit down and there's a winner where he's wanting to win or I'm wanting to win. This is how I feel. But it's just communicating, talking about me telling him how I feel about that, him sharing how he feels, and then working through that together.
There's way too much assumptions in marriage. But I assume Jen understands. She's assuming that I know, and you're right. If we would just talk through some of our things sometimes, or if people would just talk, the problem is usually very easily solved. But and I think too for this person, I think maybe one of the things they could talk about is what are some other things we could do on the weekends that we both love to do. You know what I mean? Because I kind of you got to find that common ground.
There's also places there's also places that that you can go to a restaurant where it's a family-oriented place, where they have music, or they probably have a dance floor. Those are places that I never felt comfortable about going to clubs. Just me personally, that's my personal conviction. Is just right. I always feel a little weird sometimes. It's just not my cup of tea. But sometimes with my family, my parents, we love to go to these restaurants where they play music, they have live bands.
Well, and that's where you got to get to what does he really want?
Exactly. Yeah. What does he want? Exactly.
Is he wanting the dance? Is he wanting to be around his buddies? Is he wanting a certain, what is he wanting to be around the stars, the big nightclubs in South Beach? What is it? And I think then when you get to that answer and you talk about that, then you can come up with a solution.
Some solutions.
But if you just argue about the clubs and its broadness, there's something he's desiring. And I'm not saying it's bad what he's desiring, but I'm just saying until you get to that, you're never going to get to a satisfaction. He's going to, if he says, okay, well, if you don't want me to go, then we just won't go, and he's going to resent you.
Yeah, the problem hasn't been solved. It'll come up again later down the road.
But if you can find out what he's really wanting to do, and then say, how can we meet this need, and both of us be happy?
That's good.
In marriage, you can never underestimate the power of communication. And I remember my third year of marriage, we were still very young, and it was the first time we ever sat down and talked about intimacy. ever talked. And I literally sat. We had a 1-hour conversation, and I said everything that I liked about intimacy and everything. First time ever, and for the next several years, it was phenomenal. Just because of that one conversation. So you can't underestimate. You just gotta spend the time of just really talk and getting out. Yeah.
And I know for us, and I shared a little bit of this in the beginning. That was hard for me early on in our marriage because just the communication part. That I grew up in a house where a lot of times we didn't talk about the issues. But Troy, he wouldn't let me stay there. From day one of the marriage, if I'm upset about something or I was frustrated, we sat down and he was like, we're not doing anything until we work through this. So I think his continual encouraging me to do that and has helped a lot with us.